can't thank you all enough for being here. I guess it's kind of the coolest night we've had in a while. Nice little fall evening with a little bit of rain going on. So thank you all for showing up. This meeting tonight will be as casual as something I hope you've been around. This is just an opportunity for me to visit with. I'm doing this in all 5 wards, plus a couple of others. A chance to really engage in a conversation with as many people as I possibly can. And the conversation is about how you vision Hudson, what you see the issues are, what you see the problems are. If you have any solutions, please let us know. Let us all know. And hear my thoughts on the same things. I'm Rector. I'm running for mayor. I'm thrilled to be running for mayor, and I very much want to be the next mayor of the city of Hudson. Just a little bit about myself, and I'll shut up and let you all talk and ask me questions. I was born and raised in Oklahoma. I lived in Dallas and New York City. I spent many years in the fashion industry. I started coming to Hudson over 25 years ago. Became enamored with the community then, and over the years have really watched it change dramatically, as we all have, whether you were born here or you're new here like myself. 15 years ago I came to the county as a weekender and was spending a tremendous amount of time in Hudson. 10 years ago I decided that Hudson was the where I wanted to live, and I pretty much got out of New York City, put some big roots down here, and thrilled to be here. I want to thank you. How are you guys doing? Welcome. Hudson is just been a great experience for me. The first element was, when I came to a small town from living in New York City for many, many years, it was just this wonderful sense of intimacy. That I knew people. I could say hello to people on the street. People actually sometimes waved back and said hello in a friendly city. Less and less, but I'll talk about that in a second. And then over the while, that sense of intimacy is, they do know, everyone thinks they know your business, so that's one element you start to learn to put up with. But it's been a great thing for me. I knew I immediately wanted to get involved in the community, and I was very lucky. I went to just about every meeting I could possibly go to. And I promise for the people that have been in a couple of these meetings, I won't try to repeat the same old things, because Rector does not have a stump speech. This is about as real and natural as I'm going to be able to get. That I went to just about every meeting I can, and at that point, Rick Scalera, I demonstrated some interest in historic preservation, and Mayor Scalera at that point very graciously appointed me to the Historic Preservation Commission. I've been on that commission for the past 7 years. I was chair of it I just recently resigned as chair for almost 6 years. That's been an incredible opportunity for me to get to know people in the community, get to know the contractors, get to know how to work within the city government, and really be a cheerleader for Tina. Welcome. This is a good friend from Historic Preservation. Welcome, Tina. And work with as many people as possible. 2.5 years ago, I've always said, well, if an alderman came around, I might be interested. I'm not a politician. This is not what I grew up to be. But I liked working with the government. And instead if that ever happened, and Dave Marston, the alderman from the first ward, took a job out of the state, and the position became vacant. Several people came to me and they said, would you be interested? I said, absolutely, I'd love to talk to you about it. We had a couple of community meetings for the first ward. In the second one, they took a straw vote, and I ran against a couple of other people from the first ward, and I was very happy that the people there voted me in. The city council voted me in as alderman, and 6 months later, I was voted in by the first ward officially via a primary and the actual general election. As an alderman, I learned a heck of a lot more about the community. I've served on the police committee, the legal committee, and the finance committee a couple of times. I've been chairman of the Arts, Entertainment, and Tourism Committee for the past 2 years, and chairman of the Economic Development Committee for the past couple of years. And that's just provided me with a wealth of experience that I'm very, very happy to have. And again, why? Because again, it's just more of an opportunity to work with the community, work with the people here. People say, what do you like about Hudson the most? And I got to tell you, it's the people in this town. At the end of the day, it's what I remember. It's what stimulates me. And the people, it's such a rich diversity of people. And that's, you don't find that in a lot of communities. Or maybe I was lying wherever I lived before, but it's just been a great experience, and I really celebrate a lot about the community, and I see the people, and it's the diversity of the people. I have a lot that I'd be thrilled to talk about, and a lot of ideas, but selfishly, and this is very selfishly tonight, this is the third time I've done this. And each time is going to be a little bit different, and I apologize for sitting on the stool, but I have a screwed up knee from tennis a million years ago, so my fat ass has to sit here for a while, and I'll get up and down in a second. So indulge me. Every meeting has been, will be, and I expect it to be a little bit different. But what I was thinking today is, it's really, I'm not your normal politician. I will not make a lot of promises to people. That's not going to be Rick Rector. I will listen to people. I will try to work with people. And I will try to reach out and grab your hand and grab somebody else's hand and say, what can we do together? I have a symbol for my campaign, and it's a little bit bigger there. And it's two things. First, it's an homage to 5 wards of equal population. Last year, one of the biggest surprises is when the city of Hudson voted in the Fair and Equal Initiative. Steve was a major, and I commend you. And everybody else that had a hand in that, and thank you for everybody. I think, that was such a surprise to so many people in this community. That passed, so resoundingly that, everyone's, I don't think it's going to happen, I don't think it's going to happen. No one knew, and it did happen. It happened with I think, a bit of a big boom to us all that, yeah, the town has changed, and people see, what fair and equal really means. And so this is 5 wards, and there are 5 different puzzle pieces really connecting together to form one Hudson. Now, the idealistic side of this is one Hudson is something that I believe in outside of fair and equal, that we have to, and this sounds so, what did I say the first, Mother God and apple pie, something like that. It sounds so, idealistic, but it's to find what we all have in common, and formulating those ideas and coming up with solutions that benefits all of us and all of one Hudson. So you're going to hear about this tonight. I hope you hear about it for the rest of, if I'm lucky enough to be elected as your mayor next month, it's something that will go through my whole mayoralty. It will, because it's what I've done as a member of this community, in my business background, and I certainly as running for mayor and as your mayor, I try not to close any doors. I find that there's a lot of that goes on. And I will open up a door, I will meet with anybody. If someone can offer a suggestion, if someone can bring an idea, if someone can enlighten me or enlighten the city, I'll reach out to that person. And I got to tell you, I may hate that person. I may think that's the most wicked person in the world. But if they can do something right, or they can bring some, as I said, insight or a little light on something, it would be silly not to. And we have a wealth of experience in this community. People that have been politicians for years. And people that are in the arts, and people that are in, that have been, have pioneered this community. And I'm not want to embarrass anybody, but there are pioneers, like Linda, and other people here that were the very first here, that saw what this town could bring, and made some big changes. So I want to bridge all this together and utilize as much town as I can. And just quickly, I'll be sitting in a restaurant sometime with somebody, and I said, why are you doing that? Why are you with that person? And I said, what's the issue? What's the problem? When I became chairman, when I became on the historic preservation, now I'm repeating myself from other meetings, but I'll get some frowns in a second. When Rick Scalera when Mr. Scalera very kindly put me on the Historic Preservation Commission, there was, oh my goodness, he's brand new here, he doesn't know what he's doing, he doesn't know Hudson, he's an outside city, my favorite word, I'm getting t-shirts, some city. And then they've got some on the gossip columns about, well, he's not going to be good, he doesn't know what he's doing, well, maybe he's going to be good. And for the first time, and I never do I said letting my dog that I would talk about it on Facebook or on the blog. I wrote on Carroll's Gospels of Rivertown. I said, you know, I tell you, yeah, I'm friendly with Eric Galloway. I'm friendly with Rick Scalera. I'm friendly with you, Carol. I'm friendly with a lot of people in this community, and I'm very proud of that. You know, I'm very proud of that, and I hope I can do that for the rest of my life. I want to use as much as I can in this community. What happens in a mayoral or any elected official in Hudson, it's a 2-year thing. And, you know, oftentimes, as we've seen, 2 years, somebody new comes in, it's a whole new ballgame. And that's very unfortunate because a little exercise I did recently is I went back and looked at year after year of Old Common Council minutes. Bizarre thing we're talking about in 2017 was discussed in 2005, was discussed in 2002. It's the same thing over and over. I'm a bit impatient as a person. I like to get things done. I like things to be stated pretty clearly what I want to get done. But what I want to get done, and this is the point of these conversations, is what we all want to get done. So I look forward to hearing from you tonight. You know, and this is, you know, be as real with me. You know, don't worry, you know, at heart, let's talk about the serious issues here. We can also talk about the good things in Hudson, because there's, you know, there's some great things going on in this community. And I think that's why we're all here. Very quickly, you know, this is kind of a great race. You know, first of all, I'm running unopposed. and I can't do debates, so this is my ability to debate. And, you know, if you want me to, I'll be, you know, go back and forth. But, you know, I will talk. And I'm the first. One good thing about myself, I admit mistakes, and God knows I've made several, and I will continue to make mistakes. But if I can learn, all the better. But besides this, you know, and I'll quickly say, I am thrilled and honored. I have the Democrat, which I'm a diehard Democrat, endorsement. I have the Republican endorsement, and I have the Conservative Party endorsement. I'm thrilled and proud of all of that. I've told them, they came to me and they said they would like to endorse me based upon the conversations we had. I made it very clear. My policy with the Republicans and the Conservatives is the same as the Democrats. We're all in this together. And I owe you a conversation as much as I owed my party. So I'm happy. I think it shows, it's a little indicative of what changes gone in Hudson. And at the end of the day, I'm not the only one. Many people were endorsed by a variety of cross endorsements. So it's a new day. We have some great talent in this community running this year. And listen, after going through this and learning and running for mayor, my hats are off to all of you who are running for office. You know, none of this is easy. And, you know, sticking my neck out like this is, you know, I didn't think at this point in my age, this is not what I planned to be. But, you know, a lot of them get a kick out of it. I want to enjoy it. I want to work hard. I want to make Hudson. But I'm doing it with a group of people that, you know, I'm very excited about. I would like to introduce specifically candidates that are running for office from this ward tonight that have very, very graciously agreed to be here. First of all, running for the supervisor position for the 4th Ward is Billy Hughes in the back. Billy, you want to stand up and say hello?
Hello, everyone. I'm glad to be here. Can I come up and say a few words?
You can say it right there.
So, you know, I've been 4th Ward supervisor now for 10 years. I'm the minority leader on the Board of Supervisors. And as supervisor, as people know, the county does things a little differently than the city council. We're certainly not as vitriol, but that hasn't always been the case. When I first joined the board, the city of Hudson was very much ostracized from the rest of the county, and it was a long struggle. But times have changed, as Rick has, you know, so eloquently pointed out, and you know, and so we had to adapt too. And one of the things, since I become minority leader, the relationship in the county has changed a great deal. Not that we always agree, but as being one of the leaders on the board, I make it very clear that I carry a hammer in one hand and a carrot in the other. If we can all abide by the laws and the rules that are applied, we can work together and get things done, and you get the carrot. If we cannot, then I have to bring out the hammer and use other ideas and other state agencies to make sure I keep people compliant. And I think I've been pretty effective in doing that. And you can just look at some of the programs. In the city of Hudson, we had the Senior Center, which is a county-city collaboration, which was driven by myself. And there are other programs that we're going to be talking about. We just announced the bus route has actually started to the college, started today. So we have that in line.
So he's busy, ladies and gentlemen.
We also have the affordable housing, which is going to be, I think the mayor will be announcing that very soon, which is a collaboration, again, started by me and a couple other people between the mayor and myself, which will go hand in hand with the DRI. And I think that was actually a little bit of luck, because we were looking to do the affordable housing thing, and we had no idea, meaning on the county level, that the city was really driving forward with the DRI. But, so I certainly would like to thank all of you guys, thank everybody for their support, who is supporting me, and those who aren't, I still, love you, and hopefully, moving on, we'll see you in the future as we work together to get things done in the county.
We love you too, and that's quite an honor. But thank you for being here. His opponent is Linda Musman, who is a figure in this town, and as I said, a pioneer. Linda, would you like to say hi?
Oh, just wishing you all support me. I've been here for 25 years, done TSL. Fair and Equal is a campaign that I worked very hard on and supported, and I hope that my campaign and my continued service to this community, I think, represents fair and equal. I've lived in the 4th Ward as long as I've been here. I work in the 4th Ward and have done a lot of interesting things along with Claudia, my wife, who got married here in the 4th Ward. We were the first that the governor allowed to have this pleasure that some of you have experienced, marriage. I don't know.
Not me.
We're going to get you. Anyway.
See, Billy, when you sit up front, you can talk to the whole audience.
Yes. The 4th Ward, I just must say, we're probably the most diverse ward in the city of Hudson. We have so many great things here, and diversity, which everybody says they love and they appreciate, and they want to have everybody to be here. This is a big issue. How do we support all these great ideas? On our side of the city, we have difficulty walking on the sidewalks. We can't see. We have no trees. Warren Street looks great, but we're suffering on the north side. End of story. Vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Now, really some big new faces running for alderman. First, our incumbent, Lauren Scalera. Lauren, would like to say that, please, and say hello. Take up as much time as you want.
No, I'll be around after the event if you want to talk, but I've enjoyed my time on the council and hope to gain your support in November.
Thank you for being here. John Rosenthal, a big new face in the political spectrum here. Welcome.
Well, thank you. I'm resident of Hudson now for 7 years, and I want to thank those of you who voted for me in the primary. And I'm very excited to run and continue to run and hopefully get to serve on the council. I've grown up in a very politically active family. I've been a volunteer and active in many things, including I was a tutor of the BART Prison Initiative Program. And one of my primary concerns as a 4th Ward resident and resident of the city of Hudson is how we, well, specifically how we unify in such terrible interpersonal politics, I think, here. And we've seen really nasty, represents a good unity. And if I get a chance to serve, I'd like to have a calmer, more consensus-driven council.
Oh, you're no fun.
Well, and I also have been very active trying to solve the truck issue here in Hudson, and I'd like to continue the chance to get to do that and really find a way, because the 4th Ward and the north side of the city really takes a heavy beating by trucks, and I think if we're talking about economic development, housing, jobs, all these things are sort of tied to that, I think. So if I get the chance, I'd really like to be on board on that. So,
Thank you for being here, John. Congratulations. And last is Rich Bolo. Rich is really being cheap tonight. He brought cookies for everybody. So knock yourself still have, I was going to do Halloween candy. We said, no. So we have cookies. So thank you, Richmond. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for coming. Also, thank you all very much for voting in the primary. My name is Rich Vola. Some people you might know me as Trixie. And I baked cookies for everyone. And please have fun on the way out. You might remember me because like last year I also baked cookies for Bernie, and I raised $2,700 at $2 a cookie each for the Bernie Sanders campaign. But the things I've done in this town, I've been here for 10 years. I lived in the 4th Ward. I have started. Welcome. Hi. I started the Pride Parade, which has been going on for 10 years. I've been the president of the organizations that have been founding that. Through the Pride Foundation, we were able to create a scholarship fund for kids here in Hudson. And you know what? If you have to put on a wig and a dress to raise money for kids' scholarships, you put on a wig and a dress and raise money for kids' scholarships. And that's what I've done. So I've done that. And through that, we did like Family Day for kids. We've done like bowling stuff for kids. We really have done through we did like a day at the farm just last year, but we did queer family brunch. I've taught kids, I've tutored kids math here in the library. So part of it is that my parents are not politicians. My parents were educators. My mother teaches calculus. My father is a high school assistant principal. I grew up with education as my basic family value. And that's what I hope to bring here to the 4th Ward. Like I said, many of you might know me as a cookie baking drag queen, which I take that as a compliment. But also, I come from a 25-year of a consulting background in IT and computers, and where I've implemented reconciliation and accounting systems throughout most of America's largest financial institutions. So, and I had to do that, and that is the most boring work that anyone could really do. So because of that, I came up with a whole series of bad jokes just to keep people more entertained, and that ultimately helped my drag career. But anyway, but please have a cookie. There is a website that I've created called 4thwardhudson.com, which right now really is just a campaign website. But ultimately what that will be is a website to help keep the residents of the 4th Ward informed about, here's the latest issues, this is how, this is what I'm thinking about voting, please give me your comments. There's a mailing list you could join up. We can have regular meetings with constituents, because the job for being alderman is to represent you, the constituents. That's why I'm doing this, because of the 10 years that I've been here, I think that it could be better. So thank you very much.
And really, a huge congratulations and thank you to all the people running for the 4th Ward. We also have 2 guests from other wards. The 5th Ward is represented tonight. Dominic, you're running in the 5th Ward as alderman, and will be in your ward in next week, is it? 24th. 24th, and Eileen Howard, who we all know from the city treasurer. So this is quite a crop of good people, and it's going to be oh my God, our new alderman from the 1st Ward, my neighbor, Rob. I can believe it. That's crazy. So please, you know what Rob has had a fascinating thing. This is Rob's father is mayor of a small town in Texas that I used to go to for college break, Port Aransas, and just experienced horrific several weeks with the hurricane. And Rob just came back, and my heart goes out. So please stand up and say hi. I want to just say hi. He's our new, he's going to be the alderman.
I'm going to leave the floor to you because I think it's really important everybody hear what you have to say. I'm very excited to have you be mayor, and I'm very excited to represent the 1st Ward. So.
Excited to do that. And my hat's off to you what you just did with your family. That's what an experience. So that's the talent that we're going to be dealing with, and it's going to be a lot of fresh blood on that on the common council, possibly the supervisors. But I salute all of you for doing what you're doing. Listen, Hudson's got a lot of issues. You know those. As I said in the beginning, I want to hear your questions. I want to hear your thoughts. And again, you got some solutions. Please tell me, because that'd be very helpful. So I'll just start out, and then I'll let this morph into where it wants to go. Are there anybody have any questions tonight? Yes, ma'am. Sydney, say hi and introduce yourself, please.
My name is, excuse me, I need some of that water over
I'll
there.
get you some.
My name is Sydney Long, and I live in the 4th Ward. board for 18 months now, and I would like to know your thoughts on economic development. Thank you.
Economic development to me means a variety of things. And within economic development, I include housing. And I want to talk about housing as part of economic development in a variety of ways. There's a lot of talk in the community right now, understandably so, about housing, the housing needs, and the housing possible shortages within the city of Hudson. And it's a great positive conversation because housing, when you don't have enough houses for all the people who want to live there, you've got yourself something that people are very jealous of. So housing, first of all, we all get into affordable housing. We all want affordable housing, no matter really what level you are. And there are various degrees of affordable housing. And good, solid housing is good, strong economic development. And that's a very important element of an economic development within a community, and how a community looks at housing. What can a city like Hudson do for housing? Billy so correctly pointed out an initiative it's been announced, it's been talked about, I've certainly been talking about Billy in every one of these meetings, is as part of the DRI, which is a $10 million infusion of cash within a certain geographical area, the city of Hudson. We can get into DRI in a second. There is also a parallel tandem program that's being put together as part of this. And it's an exciting opportunity because one of the things about building income-based apartments or affordable apartments, however they're going to be called, is that we do have some vacant land within this community. And that vacant land is owned by the HCDPA, or get on my acronyms, is that correct? HCDPA, yeah, right. And they own vacant land. So part of the DRI, and economic development is a big thing for me, so bear with me. I'll be dancing around this for a while. Part of the DRI, and how I've looked at the DRI, it's really to put some much needed infrastructure in a neglected area of the city. And that means hopefully some sidewalks, some street signs, some lights, some buildings, some improvements all through that area. Because if you go down there from the South Bay to the North Bay, nothing's ever happened down there. It's what I call the Wild Wild West. And depending on the stop sign, you don't know when to yield. So it's an area that really begs for some infrastructure. By putting infrastructure in those areas, it gives us the opportunity to talk to a developer with a little bit more authority, saying, we're doing this, what can you do? And a developer is going to be a little bit more enthusiastic, possibly, about investing monies within the city of Hudson for housing, for possibly small schools, for possibly retail in an area that needs that streetscape. So that's what I'm very excited about. So theoretically, and Bill, you can tell me if I'm wrong here, that potentially with the land on State Street, that's close to possibly 100 units that can be built in conjunction with the DRI initiative, working with investors. But I want everyone to know, when you talk about investors and real estate developers or any kind of development that is going to do affordable housing or below market priced housing, is someone's going to want something. There's nothing free in this world. And, so a developer is going to say, I'll be glad to build these things at 20% less than a market rate and guarantee that for 10 to 15 years or whatever the parameters are. I don't know what it's going to be. But they're going to, well, maybe I want a tax break. Maybe I want a pilot here. What can the city give me in return? So everything we talk about costs something. And I'm going to be very honest about this. We can talk about all the great programs in the world, but they all have to be paid for. Another element of economic development is working very closely with people that want to do business in the community. One of the proudest things that I've been involved with, and I'm keeping my fingers at work, is the New Wick Hotel in the First Ward. I've been a believer of that from the very beginning, to the tune of, what, do you work for them now, Rick? And I've heard this several times. And it's not. This is the first major investment other than private investment that we've had here in years. And this is a $7 or $8 million property that's offering affordable hotel rooms and a catalyst for a complete area that we've talked about for a decade that needs to be developed. And this is an exciting thing for that. So this is something that I've been involved with, working with the owners, working with economic development. I don't think I brought them into the Hudson scene an arts, entertainment, and tourism meeting just to introduce them to what they wanted to do and begin the conversation with that. Now they've been talking to Hudson, but as far as the first public thing. So that's a big part of economic development. It's not closing the door on anybody that wants to do something within this community. Whether it's create jobs, whether it's create, a training center, whether it's, a new restaurant, all the things that make a viable community. And that I will talk to. I have a business background. That's one strength that I'm bringing to this office. I spent my whole life in the world of business and high dollar, millions of dollars worth of responsibility. And not patting myself on the back, it's just the experience that I was lucky enough to have. To my knowledge, we've not had a mayor with a big business background. We've had, and I don't, listen, they've had incredible mayors in this community, but not with that kind of executive experience as far as, I don't think that's going to help me on a daily basis working with the community, but it certainly brings a financial sense to the office that I hope can possibly make a difference. Those are elements of economic development. What else do I have on it? I think some, I'm sorry, yes, ma'am?
Rick, what I'm thinking of is Warren Street is very active, but you go over one street and it's like a desert. Columbia State, there aren't any little businesses there. So is that what you're thinking?
Well, that's part of it. Well, that's what I'm thinking, and that's what we'll get to the next thing about how we're zoned in our community. And our zoning prohibits a lot of that. And that's something that, I would love to say today, I'm going to rezone this town. We need to. We really do. But that's a long, arduous process, and it takes a lot of time. But one thing we can do with the community, we can talk about layering, and zone layering, where we can say these 2 blocks, we could establish more of a retail presence, more of a business presence, as long as, we won't take away from housing, but because, these are residential communities. But I would love to see, I think retail streetscape makes a huge difference within a neighborhood. And, we have a handful of corner shops or whatever, but, I would love to see that happen. And I pray that, below the bridge area is 2nd Street below. We're not talking about the bridge going anything above, but I would love to see that kind of develop in the bridge district with some of this money and see how we can then take that to other areas of the community and develop that. Because, again, a healthy streetscape and what Lynn was talking about, all the issues in the 4th Ward, the 2nd Ward, listen, we had our sidewalks stuck in the 1st Ward too. There's no denial. They're just as bad. So, this is where, but the community's got to get involved in this. Government can't do, I can say we can look at how we can handle taxes with these kind of things, or we can do other programs, but, please help me on this, and this is what's important. Let's talk about it, Again, I'm not making any promises here. I'm just listening and, saying we will, if this is important, we will put the committee together and start working on it. And I will work with our common council, unlike this happened in the past several years, and working with our new common council president, Tom DiPietro, who I think will do a damn good job of running that. Let's see. Yes, Lynn?
No, having come here 25 years ago, it was the individuals like TSL and a lot of the antiques people and a lot of the small people who came in and believed that things there could be opportunities there. And it always amazes me. Can I answer your phone? It always amazes me that when this excitement and the thrill happens, all the great potential in Hudson, New York, we're always seeking this higher power to come in and take everything that we've done and make it what?
Totally
Ruin it or expand on it, or how do this is where I think it gets very confusing.
I think you're really, go ahead.
Anyway, that's my issue. The struggle of coming here and convincing people that ideas are possible was one leap. And then now that we're there and we're here, You know, how many articles are written about Hudson? How much is the gentry, the blah, 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 but now we're seeking big developers, big.
Not so.
Well, but that's what I hear, and I think that the people who've done the hard labor, and this isn't a new story, are the ones that generally, thanks a lot, go to the next place and do your business. There's no more room for development on a small scale. And I don't think that's unrealistic.
Well, part of what you said is something that I know in my heart. You know, the beauty of Hudson is not because of city government, it's because of individuals. And I call them pioneers that had a vision for this community, that saw something that a lot of people didn't see, that a lot of people were actually fleeing from. And they didn't recognize it. And it was, you know, the antique, you know, the few antique stores when I first visited. You know, there was 2 blocks, and that was really it. And you know, I've heard, well, the good old days. Well, those, you know, 2 blocks weren't fulfilling a lot of fantasy for a lot of people. So it was a strange, you know, town, and the town needed some help. But it was the individuals that made a big difference within this community. And whether they were the artists, the antique dealers, the educators, the entertainers, people made a huge difference in this community and brought Hudson to where it is today, I think, at this point. And anybody, you know, who looks at the city or looks for someone to, you know, good luck, because, you know, this all happened, a lot of it happened in spite of the city. You know, it's not like the city was really helping a lot of people. No, it's like, what the hell are these crazy people doing? And, you know, we will sell this, we'll sell that, instead of, you know, instead of saying, my God, look what we have, a gold mine here, of architecture, of all the good things that I hope most of us love about this community. As far as a bigger thing, I don't personally see big development. In fact,
Yeah, but 100 buildings on one small block, or 100
units.
I'd like to hear more about that.
Well, that's what I'm. We're going to learn more about this, and Billy's working on this.
Yeah, but who, where, how,
That's
when?
that's from our current mayor and Sheena from the HCDPA, and we'll see. I mean, it sounds an interesting plan. I've not seen the details of it, but it's a start. Maybe it ends up being 40 units. I have no idea. The word 100's been thrown out. It could be 20 units, but that's 20 more units. Something else about housing that I've been doing is working with our developers and talking to people about bringing back on the market a wealth of properties that are off the market now, for a variety of reasons. I don't know, we have, and I'm not going to get into names or personnel, because this is not going to be me. But we know that there's a lot of stuff off the market. What can I do to help that, or work with that developer as mayor to get these properties back on? Yes, sir?
But it is happening. Like, there is Etsy now on Columbia Street. And what we're seeing now, it's not just tourism, but we're seeing like another wave. I mean, Rob, for instance, has hired people here in this town as good professional jobs. I helped a little Irish company start a customer service, computer software customer service organization here in Hudson, which are giving it's only 5, but it's 5 good paying, well-benefit professional jobs. It's small, and it's like 5 here, 5 there, maybe a couple hundred here, or maybe in Etsy's case. But it is happening, and we are seeing another wave that when Hudson attracts a professional, educated crowd, that you see those businesses are like, okay, you know what? There could be another wave of jobs coming here, which are not tourism, related.
Well, I'll take tourism industry. I mean, it's something we've got. And until we can build on that and do other things. We also have the huge success of the L&B Old Furniture Factory. It's become an incredible incubator for new businesses happening. I have on a building, a small building on Warren Street, and my tenant manufactures his homemade furniture down there. I think there are 50 of those kind of businesses down in the L&B business right now. Yes, sir.
I think, just to elaborate on what you were saying, a lot of the history of government here and policy has been pretty reactive, as to what Linda was saying. Both the people coming here because of architectural gems that are sort of in disrepair and creating an economy sort of in spite of a planning process in this community has done great things and enriched a certain segment of the population, and also created, as successful as it's been, it's also created a lot of inequality for people who've lived here for a long time, born and raised. So I think having a planning process that's transparent. I think we've had a lot of very poor planning in the last 10 years, say, where a lot of people have cut out the process. I think it's very important to have transparency and a real thinking and smart economic policy from the city side to encourage development will go a long way, rather than just a sort of reactive chasing after the next big polluting thing or whatever it is, but really to me,
What's the next big polluting
well,
thing?
no, in the past.
And listen, economic development, again, to me is a lot of things. Economic development is utilizing our resources correctly in this community. We have a Hudson River, and I'm not talking about creating a tourism park down there. I'm not talking about something fancy, but we have an incredible access to one of America's most beautiful things right here. Over the years, from Scalera, who cleaned it up a lot, continuing that, seeing how more we can add to that, because it brings for a great experience for this community. And a better park situation down there, better access to the river for all people, including the tourists who come to Hudson and may want to go down the river, but more importantly for the kids who want to go down to a great playground. So, taking advantage of our natural resources and making them better is part of economic development to me as well. Yes, ma'am. Anybody? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Julie Metz. I actually don't live in the Fourth Ward, but we won't be around for our night, so we came this evening. To speak to this issue of economic development, it seems like the thing that makes Hudson special. I mean, I've lived here with Clark now for 3 years, and I left New York City and moved up here, and I wasn't expecting to fall in love with the place the way I did. But
hang on a second. I think Billy, you trying to exit?
Just want to mention, full board tonight, 7:30. If you want to come over and hear, should be an interesting conversation at 7:30. So, stuff on
Billy, thank you for being here.
Guys.
Linda, here's your champ. Bye, Billy. Go ahead, Billy. I'm sorry.
I really have fallen in love with the town, and the thing that kind of first bowled me over was just how beautiful our riverside is and how unique it is. I mean, you go down there and you have this fantastic view of the Catskill Mountains, and it's just something really extraordinary. So I was hoping you could speak a bit on the subject of the waterfront and how we can protect it, and so that people here can use it and have the benefit of this wonderful place, and also, of course, protect it, for the future, and of course make the most of it as something that people want to visit.
Well, that's what I said, and that's been part of economic development. One thing that I've been intimately involved with is the Dunmore House. Personally, the Dunmore House is being part of historic preservation. Watching that building deteriorate and almost collapse now has been breaking my heart. And this past year, through HDC and Sheena Salvino and some help from other people, we were able to get a $500,000 Restore New York grant just to shore the building up. That building has gone back and forth in what's going to happen to it. I have a dream for the Dunmore House. I think that there's a variety of people that have ideas. We've had a couple of meetings. Carol hosted a meeting once a couple of actually meetings from Historic Hudson, just a general meeting, to let people fantasize what they would like for the Dunmore House. My dream for the Dunmore House has always been very simple. First of all, the city owns it, the city keeps it. It's one of the last of its kind down the river. I would love to see an indoor-outdoor year-round farmers market. Community center that can be available when the farmers market's not in operation. A community center that we can lease out. We can have weddings down there. We can have community events. We can, competition with TSL and other things, or Basilica. But, or a true community center that have a kayak rental, and have a bicycle rental, a little cafe to get a cup of coffee or a beverage and sit out and watch this beautiful river. So that's how I would like to see that, and let things more from that. I'm a big believer in that we can work with our with businesses down there as well, and we have a neighbor there, and I think it's up to ultimately, and I'm not going to talk too much about it because currently the city's in litigation. and that would not be fair to anybody. But I believe that arts and commerce and entertainment and commerce and leisure and commerce can work together. And I think that's going to require, at the end of the day, it's going to require some creative thinking and a lot of give and take from some people. But we're not going away. Other people aren't going away. How we mutually resolve this, we're right in this little hiccup now that I hope goes down. There are some incredible ideas out there. And there's some great solutions, quite honestly, out there. I know John's is intimately involved in this, as most of us, have an opinion about it. So that's going to work itself out, and I look forward to steering that in a positive direction.
True.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm also an interloper from the first word.
Well, everyone's welcome. This is one Hudson.
This is one Hudson. Susan Simon. I live at the westerly part of the first ward, which is the area that you were talking about as being very underdeveloped. Pretty scary at night to walk down there. I've talked to you about this, Rick, before. My whole thing is communication. There are people that are here tonight that I see at every single meeting. There are people that should be here that just don't know about this meeting. My neighbors never know about the meetings, and they say, what's happening? Why didn't I know? We've got to find a better way to communicate to the entire city when there are meetings. And there have to be more meetings about things, about development. I mean, the WIC is in my backyard, but I didn't know anything about the fact that they had public meetings about it. I wish I could have been there. We've talked about this.
We have talked about it.
And I talked about it when there was a meeting at the Promised Neighborhood that time, and Kamal Johnson heard me because when he had his next meeting, there were flyers in my mailbox about his meeting. I was poo-pooed about making that suggestion. However, it works because not everybody reads the Register Star, not everybody reads Carol's column, and not everybody has internet. But I get all my news from Carol's column. That's why I do this meeting. I mean, because they don't have internet. That's why. That's the only.
You're not reading my blog either. No, I hear you. And that's Susan. I hear this.
People know what's going on.
I hear this throughout every meeting I go to, and you're right, the same people show up at the same meeting. And I have gone through putting flyers out, hello, welcome, and probably not as aggressively as I can for everything. That's a hard job, for this old man to go around and put flyers. But I will say this, I hear from people that I don't know about them. Well, I will say, yes, we need to do better. We need a better, and people don't have access to the internet. But people do find out if you're interested. And that's what I found out. And, don't roll, you can get mad at me. But people, they do find out. And we, as a community, yes, I think we do need, to get as many people in this conversation. Because candidly, every meeting in Hudson's the same people. But how, those people, they know about it. So I hear you loud and clear. I will do a better job. I'll do my best and I'll work with you. I'd love to hear the ideas. If you know about a meeting, then please tell people. Because your neighbors, and I know your neighbors, and I should go knock on their door again.
You've been very kind to
No, I haven't.
They're always
I'm kind to everybody. But no, I know your neighborhood. I love those. I love you Porsche cars. You make me happy. But we need to do that better. But I will also say I want to say to people, you got to be engaged. And it's easy to say, well, I didn't know about it. It's just like voting. How many people don't vote? That's a crime. And I can't, it's the same kind of topic of conversation. But you got to get off your butt and go do something. And please vote. Get people to register to vote, especially in this election, because there's some that aren't so contested. So I hear communication. I'm sorry.
Friday's the deadline for registering.
I think who in this room is not registered to vote? But you tell your friends and neighbors Friday. You still can't. Can you change your registration to Hudson? If you're
you can change it by Friday.
By Friday is
by
everything.
Friday.
Okay. So yeah, I hear you loud and clear. And maybe we will have this conversation about doing it better. There are people that I know how to get that I always tell. Honestly, this is a very true story. People that I hear complain about not knowing about it, I will call, I'll email them. There's a meeting, oh thank you. and they don't show up. So I'm trying to learn how to deal with this, and I hear you, and I will try to be better about it. But it's a point well taken. Anyway. Yes, sir.
I guess I have a few questions, comments. I'm a fourth ward resident, and I guess one comment has to do with how you feel or might be able to implement solutions based on technology to make the city government more agile so that more people are reached and that services are delivered more efficiently. I mean, the whole garbage bag solution, situation, the fact that when there are meetings at City Hall, none of us fit into the room, and then there's the air conditioner and you can't hear even if you do show up, and just service delivery. And I'm wondering if you have some ideas in terms of the way technology might be able to make the city work better. That's one question. And then another thing goes back to economic development, which is my background happens to be in urban planning with a specialization in affordable housing development, but one thing that I feel is lacking in Hudson in terms of building stock is space for businesses to grow. We do need housing, of course, that's important, but if you want to bring in a business, particularly a business that pays good wages and in a sustainable industry, you need space to have a company that can hire 30 people on one floor. You can't rent 5 third-floor spaces on Warren Street and have somebody come in and hire 30, 50 people, not 1 or 2 people working in a restaurant or an art gallery. So I guess my questions are, one, how do you feel you can maybe make technology make the city government work better? And 2, what vision you have in terms of creating spaces or attracting businesses that can hire significant numbers of people, not just wait staff and service people?
Thank you. The first is very important to me about bringing Hudson into this century, modernization. This is a city that you get a water bill, and the bill you have to either walk it to the counter or you can mail it in, but you can only do for that quarter, you can't pay in advance. I want to be able to pay bills online. Whether it's a water bill, whether it's your taxes, be able to do business online with the community. And I've made that very clear as part of one of the first things I want to start tackling. The second thing you brought up is trash. The fact that we as a community go to City Hall and buy a bag that was hand-rolled by an individual in 2017, or we can go to a new fancy machine outside that looks like, the Coca-Cola machine that's wrecking, the integrity of a beautiful building. That were still hand-rolled by, very nice people, but it's just an archaic way of looking at things. So I want to immediately explore how we can handle trash in this community differently. And there are various ways, DPW, we can put it in a black bag. We can tack something on your water bill on a quarterly basis and do it like that. We can possibly outsource it if DPW doesn't think they can do it. There are big trash companies all around. They're going up and down our alleys and streets every day. So there's a variety of ways to look at that. But, getting rid of the blue bag system, even though it had its culture, it was a wonderful thing, but it's time to reevaluate that. The city, at some point, is launching a brand new website. And that website it's been in the makes for almost over a year, and well over a year. And I've only seen the what do you call the front page? The home page. It's lovely. They were finding out which pictures to utilize. So, which is nice and fine. But the city website is supposed to provide us with a lot of bells and whistles that we can communicate better as a community. Honestly enough, our boring old city website now really functions well, because it has a tremendous amount of information. But this new city website, I envision, is an update on everything that's going on in the community. A mayor's message, so and updating on when I'm meeting, and it will be a better experience if you're looking for information, Susan, and being able to tell your neighbors what's going on. So that's just some of the things that I would like to see the city start modernizing itself and bringing us into the 21st century. And secondly is every department head in this community to hold them accountable for what they're doing. That doesn't really happen in Hudson. And to give them clear goals, what you want to accomplish, what they think they can do, and at the end of the year you hold them accountable like any other organization does. We don't do that at Hudson. As far as having, you know, spaces for business, it's interesting that I'm learning, and I'm naive, I'm learning something every day. I went on a tour yesterday with a big property owner at Hudson. There's a lot of big spaces out there, you know, that can facilitate. But there can be more. But we don't have a lot of room. We're 2 square miles. We're surrounded by Greenport. Like it or not, Greenport, you know, got us with not a chokehold, but they surround us. You know, I look forward to, people are going to hit me sometime, I look forward to having a better conversation with Greenport. Greenport can offer us as a community a lot. They can offer us a lot more housing that we don't have, and they can do it differently. They can offer us, you know, places for business. It should be a place where people say, you know, they want to live there. And you know, Greenport has enjoyed Hudson's renaissance, and Hudson has enjoyed Greenport because it offers services that we don't have. But I will, if you bring those businesses, I'll find them a big place, don't worry. Or I work with people to do it. But I was amazed because, you know, the other day, and I really mean this, Rick, this whole floor is available. In this building over here, we've got this area that this whole floor is available. And there are people that would like to do it, but we don't, you know, there's an infinite amount of room that we have in this community. So, again, that's a good thing to have. If someone wants to do something, you and I and the rest of the community, let's put our heads together and figure out how we can make it happen. And I know that's kind of nonsense, not a bullshit answer, but it's, you know, going around, it's, I want to work with you and the people to make that happen. But I think we have some right now. It's there, and I pray that we get a very sound development of the South Bay, because that can add. That's the last thing that we really buildable, that we can build smart and intelligently, and how we do it, and that should be, you know, for businesses. It should be for residential. I would love to see condominiums with this community. Again, you know, small houses that, you know, I could sell my Warren Street property and move it to a small condo and lock the door and go to Florida. Joking. That's the last thing I want to do. I hope that I got answered a little bit about you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I have a question, sir. It's related to quite a bit of what you already talked about.
Well, they don't ask it.
Okay. Well, it's more specifically what tools you might propose to open the door to properties that are not currently on the market. There are big landlords that have properties that are not currently available. I know you mentioned that you really didn't want to mention any names, but Galvin Foundation did a great job and does great work for the city, did a great job on this building we're sitting in now, but it owns a lot of property that's off the market. Corner of 3rd and Warren, this is a little bit of a selfish thing. Julie and I own a building on the 200 block, but that corner block on the northwest side has been sitting empty for years and years and years and years. Have had a chance to speak with Jason about that, Jason O'Toole. I think it's Hudson in the right place, maybe he's overwhelmed, but maybe you can speak to specifically what steps maybe have been taken and what steps might be taken to perhaps get Galvin and Company to move more quickly, or perhaps put some of the properties on the market for others to do the work, or what are the other ideas to get them to move on a very significant inventory of properties in this Hudson that are not currently available.
Well, I think I said it, Clark. All I can do is talk to them, encourage them, find out what they would like. If they want the incentives, let's put it on the table. Let's find out exactly what it is. I don't know, you know, I don't know what the game plan is with owning a lot of buildings and then sitting empty. All I can do as mayor, and this is my commitment, is talk to the people. Don't ignore them. Don't, you know, engage in a conversation, because we've gone through enough talk. There's no conversation. There's not this rapport. And that's what I hope to be able to do with them and other people in town. And find out, you know, the building on that corner. That's been, you know, an ongoing thing for me. I live across the street from it as well. And it's one of the most important, one of the most beautiful buildings in town too. But you know, it's the interesting thing about that, it's a small organization. It's very tight, and they go from one project to another. And you know, and so you know, what does it take? And I haven't gotten the answers, but I will continue to work on that. And again, it's just how Rick Rector wants to function, you know, have an open dialogue. Because once you start talking, you begin to learn, and you begin to make them more comfortable. And I don't think, well, I know it hasn't really happened lately with that. So I can't give you a big answer, I can't give you all the tools. You know what the tools are, as what the city can do. It's essentially taxes. And you know, these people pay their fair taxes. They pay a tremendous amount of taxes, and they do incredibly good things. But I would like to see, along with you, you know, more properties coming available. Somebody else.